We are live.
Perfect. Thank you so much. We are here this morning. I'm Delegate Charlotte Crutchfield, and I'm the chair of the Subcommittee on Family Law and Juvenile Law. And we're here this morning, April 5th, Monday, to go over some bills. And we have two bills on our calendar, SB 109 and SB 145. And so what we'll do is we'll start out with SB 109, and we do have a guest here, Secretary Wobben Smith here, who can talk with us about SB 109. And Secretary, if you'll go ahead and explain to us what this bill is all about.
Absolutely. Good morning, Chair Crutchfield and Vice Chair Atterbury. Nice to see you again as well. And this address confidentiality program has been a very successful program for many, many people that have been threatened with domestic violence and human trafficking and seriously at risk. I did a presentation for the full committee, I think back on March 24th. And so actually since that time, we continue to add people to the program. So the current list as of this morning, we have 1,216 people in the program, and we have 26 people. We picked up one since last time of people that now have property, real property that they can own and that is protected in terms of the person that's on the list. So the Secretary of State is the record for the properties. And of course, we have, for the 1,216 people, we get their mail because 16 Francis Street, my office, is the address for all the mail from these people that comes directly to us. And then we forward that mail on again. We package it up and forward it on to the individuals, to the secret address. The program started back in 2006 and has been, again, very successful in really helping protect the citizens of Maryland that are seriously at risk. What we found was that we had people coming to us over the past few years who have said to us, well, you know, I am seriously at risk. We've had judges, we've had police officers, we've had other members of the judiciary that have come to us and said, well, we are seriously at risk, and they've demonstrated that, but they said we would like to enter into the program so we can have that protection. And we said, well, we're sorry that the law doesn't allow that. It's only for victims of domestic violence and human trafficking. So this bill expands that out to anyone that is seriously at risk to their lives. And that's, as I say, something that is something that is very, very helpful in the safety protection for those people. We also provide them with other leads into other ways that they can protect themselves above and beyond. So we have a really very good cross section of people that we train. So we have approximately 400 people that we have trained that are there to help people and to get them into the program. And that includes places like the state's attorney's office. We train police officers. We train very broadly across the state, many different organizations and people that are there that know about or that the victims will come to for requests or for support. This bill also consolidates the two programs that we exist under. We have one that's there for domestic violence and one that's there for human trafficking. And this bill would bring those together. They're really, it's almost identical language in both of those. So it makes sense to kind of put them all together into a single position. And the other thing is that, one second. I think that pretty well covers it. If you have some questions, maybe I can clarify or give you additional information on.
Okay. Thank you very much, Secretary. So that's what we'll start with. Are there any questions specifically that members have regarding this? And if not, I'm going to go ahead and start out. You had mentioned that it's now open to those who seriously feel at risk to life. Is there a group that is not excluded? I mean, you mentioned judges, but is it all sort of like elected officials, or what groups are we talking about?
Under the new bill,
Mhm.
yes. Under the new bill, anyone that's at risk can apply. If they are seriously at risk to bodily harm, and there has to be obviously evidence of that. So we're not just putting people in that aren't really qualified or really don't fall within that criteria. So it's, as I say, we have a lot of people that we have trained across the state and continue to train every week. As a matter of fact, we continue to train people very broadly on this. And of course, we work very closely with a number of different organizations, both public and private. So the court systems, we get quite a bit of interaction with.
Okay, and Secretary, is there a reason that people may be excluded or possibly removed from the listing of,
Yeah,
for
sure.
example, okay, go ahead.
So for example, if someone's in our program and their address becomes a public record in some way, somehow it's compromised, then they are no longer really eligible under the program. But the idea is to protect them. Now, if we have someone like that happens, if they want to move, let's say, to another address and put them back into the process that way, we can certainly do that. And we do it anytime that happens. We actually encourage people to do that. So the idea is to completely get them completely off the public record, and to make sure that also that electric companies and your other private companies that you're being billed, again, their address is protected as well across the board.
And are people given a certain amount of time? For example, if you have someone that's in a situation of abuse and they take everything off the public record, but then something happens and they're not able to quickly, go back and say, I now need to be put back on, or is there like a 30-day, 60-day window for situations?
No, we
Okay.
A lot of these people, quite frankly, are there at serious risk immediately. So if they're at immediate risk, we process them very, very quickly. Okay. It could be even the same day. So we're very fast turnaround on those.
Okay, but if you discover that they're back on public record, what happens next? Is there any time between that? For example, if they're not able to immediately say, I was only on for a short period of time, something happened, is there any leeway there?
Yeah, I would say there is certainly a short period of time where that could happen. Yes, I would say so.
Okay, and would those be considered case by case, or
absolutely
how would you guys go about doing that?
They would be considered case by case, and I will tell you, the interaction between the staff that we have and the people that are in the program is phenomenal. Ann Hoyer has been doing an incredible job over the past years that I've been here now, a little over 6 years. I'm impressed every day with the interaction, and they help these individuals, well beyond the address confidentiality program itself. So they're able to get them to people that can give them additional help that's outside of our particular program. But they have such an incredible network across the state in terms of children and the adults that are threatened.
Okay, and then finally, are there any particular crimes that that are excluded? For example, I'm assuming that most people come to you because there are stalking issues or some kind of other harassment, or obviously sexual assault. But are there any things that are excluded that would prevent someone from being a part of the program?
I can't think of any, under the new legislation, I don't think so. No, I don't think there's anything that they would be excluded from, as long as they fit the criteria, are at risk and meet the other criteria, then it's fine. Absolutely.
And then I think I would assume on the opposite end of that, you know, when you open things up to harassment, it's all kinds of different harassment. Do you feel like there may be a wave of sudden, you know, requests for the program because of harassment or some other types of crimes as well?
I'm just trying to think. In some cases, that's been maybe true. For example, when you all did the legislation now 2 years ago, which allowed people to buy real property, and that we did a lot of work on that ahead of time. We spent over a year working with the courts and the clerks of the court in setting that program up, and we figured maybe we would have maybe 6 or so a year. And in the space of a year, we have 26 now, and we have 10 others that are in the works. We have sufficient people to take care of all this. I have 7 people in the organization, and I don't believe that this will in any way overcome our system if we open this up to a broader set of people.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions? Boy, it's kind of quiet this morning.
Oh, I have a question, Ms. Chair.
Okay, certainly,
Hi.
Delegate Watson.
Good morning, Mr. Secretary. My question
Morning.
is, in this fast-paced world of digital transactions, I mean, how do you actually shield a person's identity with the variety of goods and services that a person, you know, may need on an ad hoc basis that most people typically get online?
Right. So this program was you're right. It was established really to deal with the addresses for first of all for those involving merchants and vendors and your driver's licenses and things like that. And then we did expand that out to the people that were allowed to buy property. I don't think. Well, let me back up a second. We also are able to give them or point them in the right direction to get advice for people on how to protect themselves, again, on the internet and things like that. For example, one of the things that we don't allow to happen is to have our computer system that has all the addresses in. That's completely offline. It wasn't when I got here, but that's the first thing that I said we need to take that database and make sure it's fully protected. So we did that immediately. But you're right. People have to be very cautious on the use of the internet, and we, as I say, we do have some expertise that we can provide to people to help them to make sure they are in fact protected.
Thank you. And I think I saw Delegate Cox's hand up. Would you like to, do you have a question, Delegate Cox? I think he's frozen.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you.
Uh-oh, Delegate Cox, you are not
Can you
coming in
hear
clear.
me?
Yeah, you're not coming in clear to us.
Are you seeing me yet? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, but your frame looks frozen, but go ahead.
It looks like it's still frozen.
Yeah. We'll come back to him. Does anybody else have a question? Delegate Cox, do you want to put your question in the chat?
Madam Chair, he is coming back in now.
Gotcha.
He's reconnecting.
Okay. All right.
Madam Chair, can you see me now?
Yes, and hear you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Secretary, for being here today and appreciate your service to Maryland. I had a quick question about the benefits of this program over, say, the private sector, such as like UPS? What would be a distinguishing benefit?
I'm not quite sure what your question is.
Well, for instance, in the United Parcel Service has mailboxes that you can secretly set up or privately set up, even out of state, and have them forwarded to private addresses so that the public doesn't actually know your physical mailing address for safety purposes. And I just didn't know if there is a particular benefit for the public sector to be involved. Is there something beyond the court record security, that program that exists, that would be of benefit to your understanding? I just was curious because I know that, you know, this could be a lot of people coming in, maybe not, but I think it's a great program. I just didn't know the difference between the private and public part of it.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the one you just mentioned, the UPS one. But you know, any time that, or any way that you can use to help make that work is good. What I would just say is that we've had a very successful program over the years now that works with many different entities. So we work, as I think I may have mentioned, but for example, your driver's license, if you're in the program, is our address here. We work with all of the private companies, and that's something that the legislature, again, 2 years ago, broadened out so that not only do you have to keep the address confidential if you're in government, whether it's state or local government, but if you're a private entity now, you also have to respect that private address and protect it. And so I just would say it's been very successful and helped a lot of people.
And I've had difficulty accessing, for some reason, the fiscal note download. Is there a fiscal note on this?
Yes, there is.
Okay.
There is but it's, let me see. Lauren, if you're on, you may be able to get to it quicker than I can.
Sure, yes. It says that the bill basically is codifying existing practice so that this is able to be handled with existing budgeted resources.
Okay.
Yeah, that's exactly correct. I submitted that particular charge.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions by the subcommittee? Okay, seeing none. Thank you very much, Secretary Walden-Smith. We do appreciate you being here for us to ask questions.
Thank you, and thanks for supporting the program, because it really is important for so many people across our state. And I think we've even seen a lot more activity recently with the COVID-19 thing. Domestic violence is up quite a bit. I just read an article this morning that said, I think in Baltimore it was up 31%, for example, and I'm sure that's true across the state. So it is a serious problem, and one that, you know, this program is addressed very well.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
All right, and do I hear a motion at all?
Madam Chair.
Favorable.
Oh, second.
Thank you. All right, so we will move it favorably. So why don't we just go ahead and do a roll call of who I have here present. And if I miss somebody, Lauren or Will, if you'll let me know, okay? So we'll go with Delegate Griffith. I'm taking you out of order, sorry.
Yes.
Delegate Bartlett,
Yes.
Delegate Shetty,
Yes.
Vice Chair Atterbury,
Yes.
Delegate Watson,
Yes.
Delegate Lopez,
Yes.
Delegate Cham,
Yes.
Delegate Williams,
Yes.
Delegate Cox,
Yes.
Delegate Malone, who I know is not present, and myself. And I vote yes, and it seems like we are unanimous. Great. Thank you so much on that one. So we will move on to SB 145. And Lauren, if you don't mind, I would appreciate you possibly just kind of going over this bill for us. I do not believe that we will have any witnesses. Senator Hoff, who is the sponsor of the bill, is not available to attend this morning. And I just want to make sure that I don't miss anything. So Lauren, if you don't mind, would you please go over this with us? SB 145 to explain the bill.
Sure. So just a little background. Under current law, there is a prohibition that states that an individual may not intentionally prevent or interfere with the making of a report of suspected abuse or neglect. And this report is the report that is done by the mandatory reporters, so-called mandatory reporters that are the professionals, the nurses, the educators, human service workers, law enforcement. A person who violates that provision is guilty of a misdemeanor subject to a maximum penalty of 5 years imprisonment or a $10,000 fine. Generally, a prosecution for a misdemeanor has to be instituted within 1 year after the offense was committed. And this bill is establishing that for this crime, an individual who intentionally prevents or interferes with the making of a report of suspected abuse by a mandatory reporter may be prosecuted at any time for the violation. So it allows, prosecution at any time versus the current provision, which is most misdemeanors have to be instituted within 1 year.
Move favorable.
Okay. Thank you, Lauren. Okay, hold on. Let's see if there are any questions first. Does anyone have any questions? Yes, Vice Chair Atterbury.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Lauren. Good morning. So,
Good morning.
Since this was not a crossbar, I was wondering, and I see that it was introduced before, what would be an example of, so this is criminal, so what would be an example of someone interfering with a mandatory reporting?
My guess, I'm trying to recall, this is a while ago that this came in, and I'm wondering, I'd have to go back to my notes, but it may have come in around the time of the Penn State abuse scandal. But I think there was some thought about people maybe saying something to a supervisor, and then the supervisor not reporting it or telling them to be quiet, keep this, because of a scandal or something like that. I don't know the background, but that could be an example of just saying, we're not going to report this. I need you to keep quiet.
Okay. In this bill, does there have to be some intentional act of the person interfering? Or
yes, it has to be intentional prevention or interference with the making of the report.
Okay. Thank you, Lauren. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Sure.
Thank you. And I think I saw Delegate Bartlett. It's okay.
Sorry, I was trying to read the bill at the same time. So thank you, Madam Chair. Lauren, I just want to make sure I understand, because it seems it's very much a part, like 5-705.2 is already the intentional, right? And then we've got the imprisonment not exceeding 5 years or a fine not exceeding 10,000 or both. So it looks like the new language is at C. And I don't understand that language. It says a person who violates this section with respect to, so we're just adding in sexual abuse of a child. Is that what's happening?
So what that is, that technical in 5-705.2, what that's saying is, so if a statute provides that a misdemeanor is punishable by imprisonment in the penitentiary, or that a person is subject to 5-106B of the courts article, that means it. So in the bill, if you look at page 2, the 5-106B, that means that if it refers to that, the state can institute a prosecution for that misdemeanor at any time.
Okay. So I guess, and I understand what you just said, but what I still don't understand is what you explained it in the beginning, what the bill is doing. So essentially, I understood what you said about the Penn State situation. So is it making it so that if there is a person who's supposed to report, who doesn't report, who intentionally doesn't report, there is no longer a statute of limitation on that reporting? Is that what this bill does?
It's not for failing to report intentionally, it's for intentionally preventing or interfering with the making of a report.
Right, okay, got it.
That will no longer have a statute of limitations. It'll have an unlimited time to bring a prosecution.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure.
And Lauren, usually when you have a bill that eliminates statute of limitations in a criminal statute, is it usually a felony versus a misdemeanor?
Well, a felony already has the unlimited time. And then certain crimes have a specific time period that's delineated. And then this one, of course, is also trying to make it more in line with, I guess, like a felony, which would have an unlimited time.
And if we were to amend it to a felony, what would that do?
Well, that would have other consequences. This crime, a felony, of course.
Okay, such as, I mean, would it eliminate or take guns out? You know, I mean, can you give us a little bit more information? I mean, you can just do a, you know.
I may have to check with Claire because I'm not the criminal law expert, but I know, and I can quickly look into it, but I know there are some consequences to a crime being a felony versus a misdemeanor. So I can get back on that in just a few minutes, I think.
Okay.
But I don't think this bill is asking, I mean, that would be a big change to change it from a misdemeanor to a felony.
Right. But I just want to kind of know the consequences of doing that, you know. I mean, if we're now changing something that's a misdemeanor to eliminate the statute of limitations, I guess I just want to understand the differences between doing that on the misdemeanor side versus on the felony side. So that's what I'm looking at.
Okay.
Lauren. Are there any other questions people have?
Madam
Go
Chair,
ahead.
I do have a question. So this removes the statute of limitations, and I just want to make sure, I have two questions. One, just to clarify, I think you mentioned, Lauren, that there aren't any other provisions in the code currently where the statute of limitations is eliminated for a misdemeanor. Is that correct?
Yes, there are. And I will have to get back to you. That I can give you some more research on. I don't have a whole list in front of me, but yes, there are different crimes that are excluded and listed in that statute.
Okay.
I mean, that would have the unlimited time.
Okay. That is
theft. There's some computer, I have to just look them up, but yes.
okay. All right. And then my other question is, I guess, are there any other states that have anything like this where the statute of limitations has been eliminated for failing to report such instances?
I'm guessing, but again, I'd have to look. That would take a little bit more time just to look into other states, but we can definitely do that too.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? I see Vice Chair Atterbury again.
Thank you. Sorry, Madam Chair.
It's okay.
So I think there are a lot of questions. I'm also interested in the last series of questions related to misdemeanor versus felony. I'd be interested. So I think we should just hold off on this bill for now. I have another idea for an amendment as well. And we've had other bills related to removing statute of limitations, which have had significant hearings, and we did not, I don't recall this hearing at all, quite frankly. So Madam Chair, I would just request that we hold this bill for now.
Okay. All right.
And in the meanwhile, I'll research some of the questions that you've asked and can send around something to everyone.
That would be great.
Okay.
Then let's do that. Are there any other questions while we have Lauren? Since she's going to be doing some heavy research, we might as well get her to do whatever she needs to do. Are there any other questions by anyone else? Okay, then we will go ahead and we will hold this bill until we have further information. And committee, I appreciate your presence, and we will see you soon. Thanks again. This concludes our subcommittee meeting.